Our guest is here, and we appreciate very much his presence. He's no stranger here. He normally doesn't come to us by way of Zoom. He makes the track all the way from Dangriga to make sure that he comes to be our guest. Welcome, Dr. Zabaneh.
Brother Nuri.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your presence. Yes, my brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you also for being here. Let's start with your responsibilities. Now moved from education, which I might say is your strong point, but you're also very strong in economics, and that's the area of which you have written on 2 books on sustainable economic development. But now you've been moved into a very interesting area: transportation, indigenous affairs, constitutional fixing of our constitution. And we find it very interesting that you're swimming in that new pool. So give us a few words about your new assignment before I get into some of the details of exactly what you do.
Certainly, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Talking about transportation, I didn't drive from Dangriga this morning. I just from across town. So I'm here with you this morning, okay, and thank God for this beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day.
Yes. It's been a very interesting couple months. I am grateful to Prime Minister John Briceño for his confidence in asking me to work with him, with Cabinet, with the people in the ministry, and of course with our general society, with our people across the country in these important areas.
Yes.
And as I go along, all the things I learned in education still come to bear. Some of the things, the strategies we developed that were effective, I find that we can continue to refine them and put them to use so that we could try find, because all these areas have been contentious or have the potential to appear to be divisive.
Yes.
But when you delve in, you realize that it's all of us brothers and sisters who are trying to make a better life.
Yes.
And if we start there, then and we all develop a sense of trust, respect and understanding, yes, then the solutions will come. And so,
well, it sounds as though, Doctor, and I'm glad you're putting it that way, because you're actually saying that underneath it all is the human element of learning to work with each other, learning to trust each other.
Absolutely.
And that if we begin to work at that level, then these other mechanical things can be solved. But when we don't have this under control, then this becomes more contentious.
Of course.
I can understand
absolutely,
that.
Yes, absolutely.
That very much. Can I jump directly into how you're applying that to your new portfolio? As you know, transportation has been a WUB for a long time, going back administrations after administrations. Buses racing each other, buses being told that they have to upgrade, but some upgrade, but others don't. The bus owners contending with government that government is not being fair to them. A new bus line was brought in, and everybody complained, why is this new bus company coming in? Is it a preferential treatment on the part of the minister, etc.? So it's a WUB that you now have been given to straighten out.
Yes.
Can you describe what you met and give us an idea of what are the first steps you're taking to address the issue?
Yes, fortunately in this area I have some background experience. We're in my family. My dad started Z-Line way back in the 70s, and as I was growing up in high school, I had opportunities to work there, and later on to manage the company. And so I learned quite a bit about the dynamics of the bus sector in particular. And I still know quite a bit of the players who are still in the industry. So that helped in the first instance. But what do we have today in 2025? We don't have anything that we can say we're proud of compared to 2000 or compared to 1975. On the contrary,
So we've gone backward.
in many respects, the terminals are deplorable. The buses, there are some operators who have tried, made a great effort to bring on newer equipment, but it's all relative. Newer compared to what? So you're still not at a level that in our view is what our Belizean commuters deserve today. First of all, they're paying. It's not that it's a free service. They need the service. It's a public service across the country. And so we certainly need to see things completely differently than what is there now. And so in the first couple of weeks, I had discussions with Prime Minister, with Minister Cowie, other colleagues about a proposal, an idea that now we have shared with the operators. And I must say I've been very pleasantly surprised by the support across the board for this concept. As you might know, I think it was back in 2002, 2003 maybe, around that time, there was a consolidation in the bus industry across the country.
Yeah, there was an effort to
And
pull
then
it together.
It ended up with our friends at the Novella family owning the whole thing.
Right.
But what happened right after that, there was no legal framework to protect it. And how it occurred, we learned a lot from that. So that ultimately, the permits were given to compete against that company. And
which was kind of ridiculous.
Absolutely,
because
right?
It was said that they would be given exclusivity.
yes,
And they complained that they didn't get what was promised to them in terms of fuel reduction and equipment reduction. And plus, other runners were allowed to get permits to run. They used to call it snipers. I think.
sniper runs, yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course there's this, you know, we live in a very sensitive political environment, and there's this accusation of political favoritism and all these things, right? Ultimately, sadly, that failed. But we learned a lot from that experience. In the first instance, the idea was solid economically, which is to work towards economies of scale. Sounds like a big term, but all it means is that if you have a sufficiently large size, which would be justified because it's a public service. You know, not every public service, even in economics, do you support a monopoly. But in certain areas, because of the structure of it, then that is the benefits outweigh the costs, if you will, to society. So in this case, it is clear that we're a small country, and having numerous buses, bus owners, bus operators, is not the path to getting economies of scale. Because when you're a larger entity, you're able to buy in bulk, right? And so just that alone reduces costs significantly.
Right, indeed.
So you would think about, say, tires. If you have one company across the country, they can buy container loads of tires and get 30, 40, 50% lower cost than what we would need to go, or what the small operator would find when they go to buy at a store, at an outlet for tires.
Clearly.
And tires are a big part of the cost of operations. And then fuel, and then all the other things that go with it. So our operators have no chance to truly have the ability to upgrade themselves on their own. Not happening economically. And the alternative to that then would be to say, to ask government to subsidize, and then you can't supervise where the fuel is going. It's a nightmare. So that model that we have is certainly not going to take us to the place that we want to go. And so that concept back in 2000, 2002, thereabout, was the main motivator, to reduce costs, and so to allow the company to upgrade and better service, etc. Unfortunately, that didn't work. This time around, what we're saying, and why the operators are so much in support of it, in my humble view, is because we're saying you now can remain as an owner in a new company, a public-private partnership, again, another big term, but no different from what a BEL is or a BTL or a BWSL. We didn't conceive the term in that and have it as a common term out there in the business world back then. But what it means is government owns a part of it and then has oversight because it's a public utility, and then you have private people also investing in there so that it's not just the government resources that are used, but there's a partnership that occurs, and that's
So
what we
that is the model that you would want to move
Yes,
towards.
correct.
Yeah.
Because right now the government owns all the terminals,
Right.
and you want all of that under one roof, so to speak. You bring them together. The government may come in, say, in the first year and bring in new equipment. So then the first phase that Cabinet has approved is for us now to go and value the industry. Value each operator, do it transparently. In fact, at the end of this month, God willing, we will be having a second meeting where we will set up a subcommittee of 5 persons, 1 from the ministry, and 4 operators that they choose that will then select an independent auditor, that they will give guidelines to that independent auditor. This is what these things value. And then the evaluator goes out across the country. We get a global figure for this new company to start, the opening balance sheet.
So when you say this new company, you're talking about this quasi-government mix with,
Correct.
but you have so many operators, so how do you consolidate them?
Yes,
Do they
correct.
buy out each other and come up with 1 or 2?
So they have options. So here's what happens. After we value, let us say, for argument's sake, it's worth 40 million. I don't know exactly what it will be, but let's say 40 million. And let's say half is government, half is the bus owners, whatever it is, 20 million, whatever. So the 20 million that the bus operators value, right, that 20 million the whole company will issue shares, for let's say whatever, 10,000 shares, whatever it is. So when you come in, you will get your proportionate number of shares based on your value in the company. Okay, so a bus company, let us say, is worth $300,000. Okay, so they would get the equivalent value of shares for 300,000. But here is an added aspect that they really like. Let us say they don't want to continue in the bus industry. They can be paid out the $300,000. But we went beyond that. But let's say they want to keep 150 in shares and get 150 paid out. They can do that as well. So you have this opportunity now for the operators across the country, large and small, to now own one large company. Let's call it the National Bus Company. We'll probably put out something in the public and do a prize for somebody to come up with a name for the company, right? So now you have the company, and then that company, because it's a public-private partnership, gets to have legislation to protect it. Okay? Then, in addition to that, you have features within the company that will allow for even greater cost saving. For example, a period, possibly, and this cabinet has to approve this, so please, I don't want to step beyond where we are.
Yeah.
But public-private partnerships normally get incentives, like, for example, duty exemption on fuel and on parts and things like that. Okay? Reducing the cost of operations significantly, right? And besides the fact that you will be buying in bulk. So that's one aspect of it. Now this company, a board will be created. A board based on the shareholding, like any corporation. You get the number of members on the board based on your ownership in the company. And you have a board. The board then selects a management team. Advertise, we need a general manager, a CEO, a general manager, whatever the term will be. You need a FO, a financial officer. You need a senior mechanic, whatever it is, an engineer, whatever. And you hire your team. In the first instance, right within the industry, you may have people who are qualified, who will apply. And then that group of managers will decide at the board, sorry, will decide who are the best people to form the management. Just like how you have a management at BTL, a management at BEL, a management at BWSL, and a board in those institutions, right?
Yeah.
And then you form, now you have a company that we aim to start, if we get through all the stages, by the 1st of January of next year.
All right, that sounds like you really thought it through, and it sounds to a layperson like myself workable based on how you've explained it. What's not clear to me is the role of these individual bus owners, which seem to be many, at least 4 or 5 of them I know that is out there, it might be more.
31.
31
yes,
individual
on the
bus.
national highways alone.
Incredible.
That's the point, right?
That's
You have
incredible.
too many of them
That's incredible.
who have just one,
So
two,
what,
three
what,
buses.
what will happen? I know in the last experiment back in 2020 there was this buying out, they were buying out each other to reduce it down to just a few. And even then you had contention. So what do you propose now for reducing 33 bus owners, operators, down to a manageable size? Or are you going to leave all of them in there just to the proportion of the value of their
Yes,
company?
that's precisely it. You now have the option to own a part of that company based on your value that you will have in the company.
Okay.
Or you get paid out a portion of it and you still stay in, or you move out completely.
So how do you standardize the level of service to the public?
So now
you still got busways stop on the road, you have busway.
So one of the complications right now is that it's chaotic. Okay, over time, when we were in the bus business, or when I had the privilege of working in there, the government would decide, here are these runs that are based on the needs of the public. Now the tail is wagging the dog, because now the bus owners have gotten into a position, the operators, that, okay, I want to run at this time, and now they apply for it, and then due to whatever influences they have, a run is issued. Because maybe I want to compete with you, or because I want to block you out from not running that hour to compete with me. So it's chaotic, and that's why you have the racing on the road and all the days.
And that's where the corruption aspect of this is. Yeah.
So now, one national company, okay, with the regulations, it's a transparent company. Now you are going to create, have schedules. No permits will be going out because there's nobody to give permits to, just one company. That will be based on the demand. So if at Belmopan, let us say, at 6 o'clock you need 4 buses, then you will have 4 buses there. Now, because of how things are with competition, you might just have 2 buses. But why? Because then you want standees so that you overload the bus and you can squeeze out the most that you can out of a bus. And so it is really and truly sad to watch what happens there when people get on a bus.
Very dangerous.
It's a rush, a mad rush in 2025.
Yes,
that is uncivilized.
Very uncivilized. Right? Knock out elders too. I see elders getting knocked off the bus.
Crazy.
Young people just...
So now you have the number of buses that you need for the particular times. What happens now if you have a national company? A national company, let's say valued at 40 million, has the ability to purchase 150 buses over a period of, say, 3 or 4 years. Brand new buses. Okay? You have facilities all around the world, in Europe, in Asia.
So you are taking the onus of purchasing the buses from the private owners to the company?
Yes, all the assets that they have.
And then what will then the owners will not be owners, then they will
be shareholders. They're still owners, but in a different form.
I see.
And I told them, there's no more, say, James, or there's no more Tillit, there's no more Westline or anything. That's disappeared. National bus line, correct.
But me as James, I have shares in there.
You have shares.
And if I have X amount of shares in there, then that I get access
commensurate
to X
with how
amount
much
of
you
bus.
have. That is correct. No, you don't have access. You are out of it, totally. In terms of the operations. The operations are by the management of this national bus company.
So actually you're moving me as a bus owner just into receiving the dividends
That
from
is
the
correct.
success of the
That
company.
is correct.
But the actual operationalizing of it, I'm not involved in it.
That is
at all.
right. You're going to
So are you
professionalize
getting
all
the
of that.
bus owners to buy into this?
They are excited, many of them, and I'm meeting with them individually now, right? Because, so let's say you are a boss, you love to drive. You know you're a shareholder, but you don't want to retire, you love to drive. So you can become an employee of National Bus Company and continue to drive, and you get a salary.
And you still have your shares in there.
That is
also.
correct. If you just so much love it,
That's
right?
interesting. That's interesting.
You have that opportunity. We'll still need drivers. We will still need mechanics.
Are you
and
getting
so
a
on.
buy-in from the majority?
The majority.
Of the bus
No,
owners?
that is the beauty of it, and that was reported in that meeting that we had, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Very good.
But because they know the rigors, in fact, one of the bus owners, operators who was to come to that meeting, had to go on a medical emergency to Merida for that day.
Yeah.
They couldn't make it because of the pressures.
It's stressful.
It's very stressful,
Yeah.
right? And we also reported around that time that we had a meeting of our management, our leadership in the ministry. We went through the permits. Each permit has 18 conditions that should be fulfilled. By the time we reach number 6, half of the buses that are actually running out there should not be running because they did not meet these conditions, basic things that they should be doing that they're not doing right now. And what do the bus operators say? We can't afford to do it. And that's dangerous. That is putting our commuters' lives at risk.
Indeed.
So it is a situation that is very, very serious. You've seen buses flip over. You've seen them catching fire. All kinds of things. We have to do something completely different. And I think that's why the operators are excited.
With those explosions and fires, if a commuter wants to sue the company, it would be that individual bus company that they would end up suing and taking to court.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So that company could go out of business.
Of course,
because of that.
for sure.
Now, what you're saying, though, is, and one of my viewers just texted me and said, does that mean then that a private, non-involved in the industry, but have some money to invest, can then come and bring $1 million
Absolutely.
and put it into the company?
Sure, once the company with the new board now says, okay, this is our opening balance sheet, this is where we are, January 1st, 2026. After 3 months of operations, we want to buy another 50 buses, and we're all in agreement to issue more shares. Then they decide that they're the owners, right? And so you can raise money from equity in terms of share ownership, or from bonds or from loans, different ways to do that, which is what BTL and BWSL do on a regular basis.
Yes.
Right?
So you're talking about moving it from the type of chaos that exists now to a more manageable, which means knocking off all the individuals and creating a separate company with its own discipline structure.
That is correct.
That you can be accountable for timing on regularity. Buses will run on time. The terminals, and I want you to talk a little about the terminal, but I want to make it clear so that and by the way, we're going to open the phone lines because I'm getting so many texts here.
Of course.
That people obviously are interested in knowing how this will work. Let me stop now for 2 cents can with Brick City, and then we'll come back and get into unpacking this. I have several other areas here of Indigenous affairs and other things, but
very
obviously this is the
sir.
most sexy part of your Zabaneh, Dr. Louis Zabaneh is the Minister of Transport, Indigenous Affairs, Constitutional Reform, as well as religious affairs. Yeah. So we are going to open the phone lines because of the limited time that he has here, even though we've only touched one area of his portfolio, which is transportation. But I'm intrigued by this vision that he has to try to change around the transport industry. I am glad you said you were asked if this is not Novello's project 1.0 or 2.0 or whatever. Can you respond to that? Because some of our listeners, in fact, might be saying isn't that the idea they had 20 odd years ago to sell off all of these individual bus companies and put everything under Novellos, give them $33 million to build this new industry, and then that all floated away? Isn't that in an idea of what it sounds like you're trying to rebuild? And
no, it's completely different.
All right, please express
it's
that.
completely different, and again, thanks for raising that. Yeah, I had a colleague who was concerned and asked that question, and a legitimate question. But no, it's different in the sense that, first of all, the benefits that would have been derived from that never materialized, because right after that, other permits were issued, and that undermined.
Yes. Government itself killed that project.
Absolutely.
I must say that. Let's
No, absolutely. And,
all right, good.
And that's very unfortunate, because we couldn't see the benefits of it. And in that case, there was one owner. In the case of this public-private partnership, it gives the opportunity to all the operators presently to become shareholders and owners of the company if they so desire. Or they get paid out what they are valued based on that fair, transparent valuation process I mentioned to you. Or they keep a part of it in shares, and they get a part in terms of cash payout. That's completely different. And then, because it's a PPP with the government, a part of it, we have legislation then that protects it. Remember, this is a public utility, right? It's not south, east, and west people need it, just like a public utility for electricity and water and so on. And mostly the lower income people are the ones. But we want to develop a modern system where anybody can jump on the bus. Why is it that me as a minister, why can't I jump on a bus and know that I'll get to Belmopan on time? And when I'm there, I do my work and I can get on a bus and come back on time. In a good air-conditioned bus that everybody deserves. Why not? We're in 2025, but we have a mindset that is certainly antiquated and is not serving us, it's not serving the operators, it's certainly not serving the commuters, and it's not serving our national development, it's not serving government at all. So that is the idea, and that is why I see so many of the operators I mentioned in the break. One of them said, this is fantastic. I will keep my value in shares, and then now I don't have to be killing myself every day. I have a tourism project I want to go and do, right? Just yesterday I met with that person, and a number of others as well. So you have that. Then you have the aspect of the terminals, where, like you said earlier, especially our elderly are mistreated. You have to rush. It's the fittest that get on the bus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No respect for our people generally.
Yeah.
That cannot be the case today. So again, I'm grateful to Prime Minister Briceño and my colleagues in Cabinet for supporting and giving me this opportunity to explore. And Cabinet has given us the green light to go all the way up to the point of evaluating the industry. I come back to Cabinet and I report, and then we go to the next phase, which would be once we agree. So by the end of this month, the 30th, all operators get back together. We sign on. I take that to Cabinet, and the second phase now will be the evaluation. Once that is done, we go back to Cabinet again, and the next phase after that is putting the company together, the public-private partnership company, working on the legislation, starting to plan, a proper plan for the development of the terminal sector of the industry. Belize City needs a brand new terminal. We're already looking on the Boulevard, Lake Eye Boulevard here at the back. Is that what it's called? Chatamal Boulevard.
Right.
An area where you have enough space. You can put a state-of-the-art terminal where all the buses are coming in on time. You have nice air condition inside, nice bathrooms, concession stands, state-of-the-art. Why not in 2020? What, we don't deserve it? Come on, man. We have to do these things today.
Yeah, I see, for example, in the United States, they have public transportation that is run by the city itself, right? The metro is not many companies. It's one company,
Yes.
and it's run by maybe a quasi.
Yes, most of them are public-private partnerships. Yes.
Yeah, so what you have there is a more regulated system. And then on the transnational or the what would you say that? Trans-state, meaning that they go from
interstate, yeah.
Interstate,
yes,
thank you.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
You end up with, I think, Greyhound and I think Trailways. So you don't have minibuses.
Right.
You have just those regulated. So
correct.
What I see different though in Mexico is that yes, they have those high-end buses like Adio, but they also have a lot of small, almost look rough like for wee buses, but they run into villages
and so on. Yeah.
What's the difference?
So here we're talking first, in the first instance, our national highways, right? The operators on the national highways, the terminals in the municipalities and so on. But if you think of a Mexico and Adeo or in Greyhound, you're talking thousands of buses. These guys, and then you don't have tomorrow now Greyhound getting a competitor with a permit to compete with them, right? Those things are properly regulated. That's what, and they can afford then to buy 500 buses at a time, get a discount on the cost of the buses, but raise funds that you don't have to pay immediately, a 20-year bond, a 30-year bond, right, at a low interest rate. So you can buy these things, which a national company can do, but a little operator with 4 or 5 buses, even at our regular banks, don't entertain them, and if they do, it's at very high interest rates. That's not sustainable, right?
Won't make money.
So you have all of these things now that can be addressed with a national company.
Here's another concern, and then we'll move to another area of your responsibility, is regulating the qualification of bus drivers. In some other jurisdiction, you have to have a certificate from a school that teaches you how to handle these buses. You're not just a person who moved from this one to that one to that one, and we just hire your car, you could drive one bus.
Absolutely.
Will you regulate the training of officers and conductors?
Absolutely. In my proposal to Cabinet, that was clear, and in our discussion with all the operators, that was clear. Yes, if you want to come back as a driver, you have to take a course, pass it, and show competence as a driver. We can't have people who are driving buses, and then when they park and wait to go back the other way, then they don't have a bar, they hang out, right? And then when they're on the road, then they drive. I got a call from somebody that they come out with their knees, they knock from Dangriga to Belmopan, and they called me right away. The driver was on their cell phone the whole time, and not just that, the talk, but the text and all kind of things, right? So these things are outrageous, man, outrageous, and we have to control all of these things, and a national company can do that by having a certain certification.
Right away. Yes, welcome, caller. Good morning.
Morning, Madam.
Yes, morning, sir. You got to
listen to the discussion with the bus industry and upgrading and thing, no?
Yes, sir.
And other one, always want better for this country. Always I want better. But many a time, you have to look out, with the details of the situation there. Because many a time that the small man get pushed out, So whenever you talk about come together, that the person with money will push out the man when not got much money. And that PPP, when they talk about public-private partnership, most of the time, it turn out politicians, flunkies, prosper. That's the way they tell you. That's the way I always happen. So we really have to watch this situation. The commuters need better. I know they say no to that. They bus and things by the road and things, some of the property, nobody's by the road. Yes. But many of the times, these gentlemen, when they out there with them bus, when they struggle, and we build the industry for many years, 30 odd years or so. And it's difficult. It's very difficult due to the high cost of living, the high cost of parts, you know, mechanic party here. And to go. And many of them can't get the resources like what people with money could get. So the people with money will always stay in front and knock them out and play with, develop their runs in this industry.
All right.
So yes, I support a better industry. These bus owners, and I talk to owners straight up, be careful. So many times they PPP, the politicians, flunkies, prosper. No, oh no, I dey tell you no, be careful when you go to the table and sit down and discuss.
Yeah.
Because the devil is in the details. Be careful. And I know the truth that you want to and not let us say, open our eyes. We are come together, we are come together. Rich and poor. But you know how the rich always overpower the poor.
Yeah.
So be careful. That's all I say. I wish them the best.
Yeah.
And I tell you no, I wish our commuters deserve better. But be careful. You
All right.
take care, brothers.
All right, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I want to thank the caller for that call, Brother Nuri, and he's making our case. First of all, if you go to BL, BTL, and BWSL, you will find small man with a shareholder. They're not alone big man the shareholder there. Okay, so right there and then you could see that that framework allows for the small man and the big man for being a part of the ownership. And then he's correct about the small operator where they take lick out there. That's why with all of the take lick, because the small operator and the way how the industry is structured will never deliver to us what we want and deserve as commuters, right? Because yes, you have small man with an operator, but you have thousands of small man and small woman and small granny and small grandpa who ride the bus as commuters, and we need to focus on them. It's not too different, Brother Noor, than when we were talking in education, right? That we have to reorient ourselves, and not about government now, that government owns schools and they manage schools, or that teachers and so on. All of us, government and teachers, are there to facilitate, not themselves, but the students. So when you start focus on who matters most in this transportation industry, it is the commuters. And then we start from there. What can we do as partners? How we could think outside of what we've been seeing and where we blindfold pan, right? And develop trust with each other. And then serve the commuters. Then we're able to actually make the right decisions. But if me and you talk about, oh, this is what happened to me as operator, maybe fuel cost high, maybe this and that, and you focus just on yourself, you miss the big point, which is service to our people who are on the buses. That's the important part, and that's what I think we're doing right now.
All right, our number here is 2805848 if you want to ask. We only have the doctor for a few more minutes. You also are thinking about incorporating the e-buses, and you're talking with UNDP, who has already been facilitating Belize City Council. How do you intend to incorporate that into this big picture? Yeah, welcome, caller.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
I know the discussion today is on buses, but I travel the roads quite a lot in our country. And there's every day you see numerous breaking of transport laws on the roads. You have these trucks that load with stores. Even though you keep 200 yards behind the trucks, they are not properly covered. And by the time a stone hits your windshield, and by the time you get over the impact and the scare, you can't get no license plate, you can't sue nobody, and insurance, well, that's a problem too.
Yep.
And this is constant. I've had it done to me about 5 times. Constant. Nobody does anything about that. They see the trucks pass by, checkpoints, without a canvas. And some that have a canvas, they all tear up, and it doesn't cover anything. That's one. Second, it's against the law, as far as I know, to have people in the back of pickups. And I see that going to Corozal, going to Orange Walk, going to Begopan, going to on the coastal. It is constant. We are normalizing breaking the law. With the motorcycles, as Mr. Nuri once told me, well, what you want them to do, they need to be mobile. Motorcycle is for 2 persons. You can't have 3 children and 2 adults on a motorcycle. If the agenda and the goal is to keep people safe, you cannot have that. Not even saying that when I have to carry them pick them at school. That doesn't cut it. So what is going to happen with control of these traffic violations constantly on our roads. That is what, with the buses, well, I don't know, maybe you all need to control the speed also. Will these buses have speedometers or something that they cannot go faster than a certain speed, like what some of the Mexicans have? Because I travel at 55, between 55 and 60, and sometimes I get passed by loaded trucks and buses, and in 5 minutes time they're out of my vision. So they are definitely driving at 70 and 75 miles an hour.
Indeed.
And nobody stops them. We have these beautiful, they have beautiful Toyotas, well painted, highway patrol. And all you do is see them park on the side, going through their phones. But they can't say they weren't there. They were there. But they're not out policing. They're inside their vehicle with AC going through their phones. So who is going to supervise the supposedly supervisor? And this is where we fought in this country. We need one supervisor for supervise the supervisor, and we need one board to be the oversight of that supervisor that's supposed to supervise the other one. And we have a whole bureaucratic thread and nobody doing their job properly. But the roads are a danger, and please, these trucks, they need to be stopped. Whoever owns these trucks that go to Greasy Rock to get material, they need to have somebody there from the government or transport to make sure that before they leave, they are properly canvassed.
Yes, indeed.
They could cause some serious accidents with them big stones that drop off of the earth. I've had 4 windshields crack up. So I'd like that to be addressed also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's an extremely beneficial call.
For sure, and I'm grateful for that. Fortunately, we have CEO Chester Williams, who has worked and made a great reputation for enforcement and for ensuring that we move forward in a way that is balanced, but that we are doing the right things that need to get done. So I have asked him as CEO to focus primarily on that area, which is a very critical area.
Yes, it's
that requires a lot of training of our people. We've said this to our people. You will be given an opportunity to stay with us, but you must get trained, and if you can't cut it, you need to leave, because we need to serve our people. Absolutely. It's people's lives that we're dealing with.
Yeah, indeed.
Hello?
Yes, welcome, caller. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I am watching the show and I'm really happy with what I am hearing. I think Dr. Zabaneh has a really, really good plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, hello?
Yes, we're here.
Yes. And there will be criticisms, I am sure. A lot of people don't like change. People do not like to support things. People just find a way to criticize things. For some reason, the Legions have this mentality that instead of giving constructive criticisms, they tend to want to give destructive criticisms. However, because I know a little bit about business, I think the plan that Dr. Zabaneh has is really going to work if done properly, if executed properly. I think it can revolutionize the bus industry in this country, and I really hope that it actually works, because it can help the commuters get better service. So I really want to congratulate him. I think he's the right man for the job, and I hope he sees this plan through. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words of support, and you know, we have to give credit where credit is due. Well, I got an opportunity to have worked in the industry, so I learned from that.
Yes.
I thank my dad for giving me a leave summer job, and I learned from that. But I thank all the other operators who were there, who shared their thoughts. And so what we're going to end up with is a product based on everybody's contributions. and we give credit to everybody. So I want to say that in response to her kind words.
Welcome again, caller. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, Nuri. Good morning, Honorable Zabaneh.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, excellent show this morning, and I certainly want to also, like the previous caller, give my full endorsement to the initiative by the new Minister of Transport in an effort to try to enhance and improve the experience by commuters across this country. My call this morning centers primarily around holding people accountable. Now, under the previous minister, we would have gone over 2 years, almost 3 years, being robbed. And I don't want for us to play with the words. We were robbed. We paid for a service that was never delivered. We paid for stickers. We paid for license plates. And we were robbed by the government of Belize. We were not able to get the goods and services that we paid for. And I don't think that we need to pussyfoot around that. That's the fact. Now, allocations were made to this ministry for the provisions of these services. Year after year, a budget was passed and funds were spent. Contractors were hired to deliver these things, and it never occurred. There has been scathing allegations of corruption within the Ministry of Transport, at the time Youth and Sports. Honorable Zabaneh, can you give the people of Belize the reassurance that you will commission an audit of that department and that you will make it public in a press conference, so that those public officers, those private sector individuals, anybody that was involved, whether it was the former minister, can be held accountable. All I need to know is that you're serious not only about improving the system, but you're serious about good governance. Because if we don't fix the governance issue, the corruption issue, sir, your new initiative will fail. And so this morning, I want to hear from your mouths whether you are committed to hold those officers accountable, and if they need to be sent to jail, charged criminally. You now have the former commissioner of police, who is also a trained attorney. You have an excellent internal auditor. Will you just endorse a new auditor for the government of Belize? Will you, sir, commission such an audit and make it public to the Belizean people? That's my question this morning.
All right. Thank you. No, you're challenging the right person, my friend. If you know my track record, that's what we're about. And already we have been working with the office of the DPP, where we have had situations that we're investigating. In my first meeting, because all we know around the country, we know the problems that we've had across our ministries, and in particular in this ministry. And I asked everybody, I said, listen, we're here to serve people.
Just a minute, sir.
We're here to serve people. This is not our money. The very table we're sitting around and the chairs we're sitting on are for the people. So be careful how you haul out that chair. Not to rough up this chair, this is not for we. All right, you're in a public vehicle and so. That are for the people, who take care of it. And we are going to go and get to the bottom of these things. We are already making progress with that. It is expansive, the problems that we're facing in that regard.
So are you promising him an audit, as he's asking?
That's part of, I think, every minister's role. We have to be able to be accountable for what we're doing.
So the answer is yes.
Well, if you're saying a particular audit that follows this methodology, and that we're getting an independent auditor and all that, no, I can't say that I've done that yet.
What he was saying is that there were,
yes,
for example, license plate.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And the service is paid for, and it's over 2 years, you're not getting it. So an investigation needs to happen. Are you saying that investigation
that is already taking place, right? And that's our priority.
Okay, very good.
So that's absolutely so, yes.
Welcome, caller.
Well, good morning, Brother Nuri. Good morning.
Dr. Zab,
Good morning.
Yeah.
one of my concern is, if you catch a bus and it marks express non-stop from Belize City to Bemopan or Bemopan to Belize City, I think it's unjust for you to pay a fee to get an express ride, then they keep stopping on the highway. You know, this keep happening to me. Last week Friday, I went to Bemopan, coming back on the 12:30 James bus, and it's like a regular bus, man. You know, I think we need, like what Dr. said, we need to do more enforcement, because if I am paying for a service, I'm not getting it. You know, and when you speak out, they get upset with you, but you are speaking out for your right.
Sure, absolutely.
You know,
Yes, sir.
this thing is, we need more enforcement. There's a lot of law in the book, but we don't have the manpower to enforce.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct,
You
correct.
know, but I think the doc is heading in the right direction, and I know with his blessing and with his experience in the bus industry, I know the change will come, and we consumer going to get a better service. Just hope for that.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
And I
Thank
really
you.
want to speak a little bit more,
Yeah.
Brother Nuri, about the enforcement that is needed. And it's going to require all of us in this country to agree that we are collectively going to be prepared to change our habits and our behaviors that are contributing to this. Because we know that many people are speeding on the road. We know that we see a lot of people overtaking around curves. We know all these things. So when you're stopped by the transport people, who, by the way, we saw in the regulations, and CEO is looking into this, have arresting powers, you know, like the police.
Oh, so they can arrest.
Yes, and so when those things happen, we don't want a whole pile of things on social media now. Oh, then they abuse my rights, then they abuse this and so. Let us all work together as a nation, make we all start from our own self, right? Like the caller prior to that is saying there's a lot of corruption in the ministry. Well, let everybody together, the public servants, all of us, unions, everybody, make all of we look on ourselves in the mirror and make we check ourselves. And then we come to the table prepared to do our part, right? So that not just my responsibility for that all of we collectively need to contribute to this thing.
Watch me, watch yourself.
Well, that is what former
Yeah.
Prime Minister Said
Yeah.
Musa said, right?
Here's another call. This has to be our last call. Welcome, caller.
Yes, greetings, Baranui, in the name of the Most High Allah, God Bungio in Garifuna. Also
Bungio.
greetings to the gentleman, Mr. Zabaneh. I am a traveler, been a traveler for many years and been throughout almost, I would say, many different countries. And I could say, as simple as across in the west side of the Guatemala city, you have the city transportation there, which is to me needed in Belize too. The city transportation have one entrance and an exit. But I noticed that for many years, many buses that Belize, they only have one entrance. And then I keep thinking, in case of emergency, how could the elder ladies or elder men, how can they run through just one entrance when there should be an exit? Somebody said to me, oh, but they have the back door. Yeah, but most of the time that back door is padlocked. And then if you really have an emergency, I see the bus is chasing all the time. One chasing the other because they want to reach at the station by Mike's right away, where they call it Region West. They want to reach the first, so then they chase the next one. And I not be biased, but I notice the one who have a little more discipline and more gentle is that same man called Lopez. So he was running 7 days a week to provide service to the commuters, but he couldn't make it for some reason. So that entrance and exit to me is very important because you have two ways to exit in case of emergency.
That's a
The
part of
small windows
regulation
on the
again.
side
Yes,
that tell you about
like the
emergency,
terminal, yeah.
I don't think a granny could jump through that.
Sure.
See?
All right.
Or a grandpa or granny. And then in wrapping up, I believe and our best wishes for you in your endeavors of the new portfolio with the transport.
Thank you.
But I believe the roads need more enforcement to see that these drivers, whether they're west, north, or south, do the law, what the law tells them to do. That phone calling, that phone texting, that speeding, that blasting radio, they put the music blasting like they're in a private home or in some club.
Right.
All these things need to regulate, but they need more people out there to enforce that.
Very true.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
good.
you, thank you,
As,
thank you so
as
much.
I'm understanding, before you make your last point, I just want to reiterate. you are saying that a lot of these issues that we've been dealing with individual bus owners and loud music and etc., as he's saying, rotten seat, buses not being well maintained, all of that will end because you're now coming into one consolidated company of which these bus owners can be shareholders.
Correct.
But all these things about bus drivers and how the bus runs and the timing of the bus, etc., all of that will be handled by this central bus company. And that is it.
Right.
So in your closing comment, maybe you could just make a few words in regards to driving that point home.
Yes.
Because it sounds as though most of what is being discussed here are the same infractions that have been going on for years that you think that this new company will in fact get rid of.
Yes, no, indeed. So, there's so many things that have fallen through the floor, if you will. And no pun intended, some buses you can see the ground through the floor, right? And it is just outrageous. And when that's because it is so fractured. You have 31 operators. We have all of this problem with our people working in the department who need a lot more training, no supervision, like the caller correctly said, who the supervisor, and so forth. We have to have the right people in place. So it's not going to happen overnight.
Clearly.
But you will start to see a gradual intensifying once we have the right people. Because as much as myself, CEO, and our leadership want to do the change, and we don't prepare our people on the ground to be able to do it, we'll fail already. So we have to start at that level, give them the resources that they need, but especially give them the orientation, the passion inside to understand their role in making our roads safer, and how all of that will help with the development of our country. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of that. The National Bus Company, whatever it's going to be called, will be addressing that aspect of the road, which is very important because a lot of people who are not driving in cars and overtaking around curbs and so on don't have a car, they have to use the bus. So we're starting there where we have a framework now, an approach that the actual operators are supporting and buying. They are the ones who ultimately, as I told them, by them supporting and giving their ideas too, then the success of it will be credit to them, credit to all of us as a nation, right? We go about this thing, the me do this or the me not do that. No man, this is for all away. This is for all away. Putting our part, calling in. By the way, we're putting out a WhatsApp number that we're going to be publishing, that anybody could call in. There will be a person dedicated to that number. People already have been WhatsApping me with pictures of this bus they overtake or whatever. That are the things we pay attention to. We're going to find out who that, and we're going to say, hey, you do this is an infraction, the number 8 on this list here, and this is number 1. He say your letter here. If you continue with that, you're going to be taken off the road. We're going to do it fairly, but we have to do our part in terms of that as well.
I know that the police has a responsibility here, but what about drunken driving? What about those issues of sending photos of people? You could see the license plate and everything, and you could see that this person obviously is not in the line. Are you, if we send that to you, are you then, your department, your ministry, going to look into the details of that?
Absolutely. So you were talking earlier before I came on about AI and how it can be used for good and for evil, right?
Yes.
And interestingly, in the example that you were using, it was not necessarily evil, but it turned out to not to be fake, right?
Yeah.
But we have so much technology that we could bring to bear, right? So, for example, one of the things that this national company will be able to do that independent small operators can't do because, of course, the initial investment will be too high for them. Each bus, so this company now, you will have a room like this, you will have people sitting around, and you have the screens. You could see, because of GPS, every bus that's on the highway. You could tell by a color code if the bus is speeding, if the bus is behind time. You have cameras in each bus that you can turn on and observe any standees on these buses. Technology is there, right? So, but it can't be done because you think one small operator, they think about that. When then they go onion, 2 onion skin tire, they don't know if they make even halfway on the journey. Then we break down on the road, and they don't even give the people back their money, and the people have already paid and they not reached their destination. You have to get out now and catch another bus.
That's crazy.
These are things that should not be tolerated in 2020. It shouldn't be tolerated at any point in time, but especially now. We should not be able to have a setting right now as we do that is punishing our people. That is what is happening. So we have to shift around and say, man, we are capable. We could do better than this. Let us work together and get this thing done.
Well, Dr. Zabaneh, thank you very much. It's been very enlightening to hear your vision for what you want to do with a department and a ministry that has really been skewed. And I'm not talking only about the previous minister, but I'm talking going way back.
Yes.
And it just has not been fitted right. But you sound like you have a vision, and we can only hope that that vision becomes a reality, because we do need relief. We need relief on the roads. We're paying money and we're not getting the service that we're really paying for. So if you can handle it the way that you've articulated here this morning, and you're getting a buy-in from the bus operators and owners, then hopefully we'll see some good coming out of it. Let me thank you. I could not take these additional calls because Dr. Zabaneh was to leave here at 8 o'clock, but decided he'd give us the next 15 minutes. He has to get to another meeting, and that's the reason why we didn't take the call.
I am meeting in Orange Walk with further north with truck operators. I will report to you real quick. We had a great meeting with our truckers from the west that were having issues with the axle tax, axle fee. That turned out to be great. And then we have been having great meetings with the Maya communities as well with respect to the mile and rights case. I know we didn't have a chance to talk about that.
No. I wanted to talk with
and
PCC.
Then
there's
the
a lot
PCC
that we wanted
is
to
being delivered now to Prime Minister today.
All right.
So that's very, very
Because
exciting and
I
interesting.
think the PCC's term of reference ends
Today.
It's today.
The 16th, yes.
Yeah.
And so that's being handed in.
Okay.
And then I've already started to meet with religious leaders. So, you know, my portfolio has these 4 different areas.
Yes, indeed.
And we want to have all religions, Islam and everybody.
Yes.
Right? We need to have greater intercultural
That is great news. Great
cooperation.
Yes.
And a lot of these things, by the way, the religious community plays such an important role on that part of competency that has to do with values and principles that need to be fortified.
Absolutely.
Because if we have people working in the public service, you know, a traffic warden, and you have these principles, you will not ask for a bribe or get bribed.
Precisely.
Right? And so we have to start there too. So I am grateful and thankful again to Prime Minister and to my colleagues in Cabinet for supporting me and giving me this opportunity to serve in this capacity. I am grateful, and of course I thank my family. I thank God for this, for my health and everything else. And certainly thank you for this opportunity to be here.
Yes.
Looking forward
It's
always
an honor.
to
It was an honor, my brother, and the conversation went even further than I thought it would this
Indeed,
morning.
indeed. So and blessings to everybody
Indeed.
who's
so
watching.
let's take our next break, and we'll be right back.